Welcome to another Dirty Tones Tutorials. This is episode 2, and today I'm going to show you a lot about the interface, and we are going to make our first song in Lmms. It's going to be a 32 bar song, and it sounds somewhat elementary, but it is kind of fun. First of all, let's just go to this website called methodbehindthemusic.com, and I showed this on a previous episode, but this shows a lot about music theory, and I would highly suggest that you spend some time here. The thing I want to look at today is the treble clef, and the treble clef is super simple, as long as everything's super simple actually, but the way it is labeled E, G, B, D, F on the lines, and F, A, C, E on the spaces between the lines. So anytime that there's a note written on a line or a space, it correlates with those notes, E, G, B, D, F. And actually, if you look at piano music, it has what's known as the grand staff, and it has treble clef and bass clef. And what connects these is one note, or one line rather, that goes across here, and that is known as middle C, and that is the middle key on a piano, and it is a C, and then you've got it just continues up and down from there just by C, then the space would be D, and then F, or I'm sorry, E, so it'd be C, D, E. I don't know my alphabet today, but it just goes up to G and repeats, and it just goes space, line, and that's just how you do it. And so I know that wasn't very clear, but you can read more about it on here, and just practice makes perfect. I have a little piece of music that I have made with Musescore, which is a free software that allows you to draw out musical notation. And so let's just take a look at this real quick. This project, we're not going to be doing any bass clef. We're only going to be working on treble clef and drums. Now drums, we're only using 4 drums today, and right here on this space right here, that's going to be kick drum. In this space right here, that's snare drum, and the space above the top line is hi-hat, and there's one other that's a ledger line above it, and it's right here, and that's going to be a crash. So using the rhythms that we learned in episode 1 and the notes that we're studying and learning now, we're going to create this song here, which is 32 bars, and we're going to do this in Lmms. So let's get started. We're going to be jumping back and forth between Lmms and this. So let's look at Lmms here, and this is a default project here, how it starts out, and we don't need everything on here, so let's go ahead and remove the stuff we don't need. So I'm removing the tracks here. I'm going to remove sample tracks, I'm going to remove the automation track, and basically all we have left now is beat and bassline 0, which correlates with this. A little bit about the interface here is this right here is your beat and bassline editor. This allows you to create loops, or it allows you to create loops. This right here is a song editor, and this allows you to add instruments and beats from that you created here and draw them in on what measures and for how many times you want them. So this creates the whole song. This creates beats or loops, and that's the way we're going to do it today. And so first of all, let's go ahead and grab all the instruments that we're going to need for the song. And I like to start with drums. I don't know if that's because I'm a drummer or what, but we're going to put the drums in the beat and bassline editor, and we're going to put the instrument, which we're going to use a piano sounding instrument today, and we're going to put that right here in the song editor, because it's not really going to be repeating. It's going to last throughout the entire song. And that's how I decided to do this. So, I mean, there's multiple ways to do everything you want to do. So, I'm going to go down to my samples, which is right here. And this opens up all the samples that I have available. If you remembered in episode 1B, we added more drum kits, and we labeled them hydrogen kits, because a lot of them, well, all of them were from the hydrogen project. But today, I'm going to use, let's use, you could pick any drum sounds that you want. I'm gonna go with let's just go with some I'm sorry, let's go with some acoustic sounds. Okay, we need a crash, we need a closed hi-hat, we need a kick, and we need a snare. So go ahead and pick the kick up. I'm just going to click it and drag it and let it go right here in the beat and bass line editor, and it adds that kick drum there. And I'm going to go ahead and add a snare now. So I can just click on them to preview what snare I would like. And let's go ahead and use this one right here. Sounds good. All right, let's get a closed hi-hat. I'm going to go ahead and use this one. And we need a crash. I'm going to use this one. So now if we look back at our music and we look through our drums that we're going to need, we need a kick, a snare, a hi-hat, and at the very end we need a crash. Okay, so now we have all of the instruments that we're going to need for this song. So let's go back to Lmms now. And before we get going, we can also go ahead and add our piano too if we'd like. So up here under instruments, this is an instrument tab here. These are the plugins that we have by default, and I'm going to go ahead and drag Zen Add Sub Effects into the song editor and let that go. Close that. Click here, and this will open up your dialog. And then once more, click this Show GUI, which is Graphic User Interface. Click that, and the first time you open it, it'll ask you if you want the beginner or advanced. If you are a beginner, go ahead and pick beginner. And in beginner, we just need to click here to load an instrument. And now it looks like we don't have any instruments, but if you click on this drop-down box, you see that we have all these different instruments. I'm going to go down to Synth Piano 1, and I'm going to go ahead and choose Binary Piano. Now if I click any of these, it allows me to preview those sounds. So go ahead and close that, and I'll close that. So now we have every instrument that we need to create the song. Let's start with drums. Like I said, I like to start with drums. So let's go ahead and look at our music. If you look, the drums don't come in until bar 9 or measure 9 here. And we have one beat, and then this means to repeat the measure before. So if we look, all of these just repeat this one. And so we got a one measure drum line that we need, drum part that we need to make. And it looks like we have a little bit of a variance to that, just a little bit of a different one. So we'll need to make a second one for that. And then it just uses the same beat from here again and repeats. So we're still only at 2 beats. This one repeats here, so that's the second beat. And so if you look, in the ending is a little bit of a beat, so we have a third beat. We only need to create 3 drum beats in order to use this song. So it's a very basic and simple drum patterns in the song, and we only need 3 of them, and each one of them only need to be 1 measure long. So let's go back, let's keep this up so we can see, and we're going to work on this first drum beat first. And we'll go back to Lmms here, and let's go ahead and rename this so we don't get confused. And so to do that, if I see my beat baseline 0 here, I can double click that, and then I can rename this beat 1. And we need a total of 3 beats. So let's go ahead and just create those now. I'm going to click here to add another beat, and once again. So then right here, I'm going to double click this, and we'll call this beat 2. And then double click this one, call it beat 3. So now, depending on what beat we want to work on, we just select the one here, and we can see now that it is selected in the beat and bassline editor. It starts out by default with only 1 measure here, so you have 16 steps, and beat because it's broken apart in 16th notes. So we have 1, this is beat 2, beat 3, and beat 4 of the measure. So we just 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and so that's how that works. So let's go back now and look at beat 1 on our sheet music. And we'll start with the hi-hat. The hi-hat is simple, it's just 4 quarter notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's easy. Let's just go back to Lmms and go to our hi-hat. And it was on quarter notes on 1, 2, 3, and 4. If I play that, it just repeats that. Let's go ahead and raise the tempo up too. Let's try 150. That'll sound pretty good. So now let's go ahead and look at our snare. Go back to the sheet music. The snare, if you remember, is this line right, or the space right here, which would be C on if it were treble clef. So let's look at that. It looks like all we have here is a quarter note on beat 3. So we go back here and look at Lmms, and we'll go to our snare and we say this is beat 1, beat 2, beat 3. Go ahead and click that there and listen to it. Okay, and the last part is the kick drum part, so let's look at that. We have a dotted quarter note, which just means a quarter note plus an eighth note, so added together, so that would take up 1.5 beats, and then we have a eighth note after that, so that would be on the and of 2, and then 3 we have a rest, and on 4 we have a quarter note. So let's go back and look at Lmms, and on the kick it hit on 1 and it lasted a beat and a half, and then there was an eighth note on the and of 2. So we got, this is 2 here, so the dotted quarter takes up all 6 of these 16th notes. And then we got here, so and then there was a rest on 3, a quarter note rest on 3, and then there was a kick drum on 4, a quarter note on 4. So let's look at what that looked like again, make sure we're correct on that. We have a dotted quarter note and an eighth, and then a rest on 3, and then a quarter note on 4. So that is the entire beat for beat 1. Let's hear what that sounds like. Okay, and that's it for beat 1. Let's move on to beat 2. So I'm going to select it from the window, and let's find that beat here. Right here on measure 16, it's a little bit different. We still have the hi-hat on quarter notes, so that's the same. Let's go ahead and add that. So we have on the hi-hat, we have quarter notes, so 1, 2, 3, 4, that's no different. And we have on the kick drum, we just have a whole note, and it starts on, well, it's a whole note and it starts on beat 1, so it's just 1 kick drum. Real simple. And then let's look at the snare. The snare has rest on 1 and 2, and then on 3 it has a quarter note, and then 4 and. So it has 2 eighth notes starting at beat 4. So 3, 4 and is what we're looking at here. So we'll go to the snare, we got 1, 2, it was 3, 4, and. So it's 3, 4, and. Let's listen to what that sounds like. All right, so that's beat 2. Now let's go back and see what our last beat is, and it's this one right here, and that will go on measure 32, which doesn't matter, we're just going to make a 1 measure beat, and that's simply a crash and a kick, and they're both whole notes, so there's just 1 and it starts on beat 1. So this is going to be super simple. We'll go back to Lmms and select beat 3, and we needed a crash and a kick on beat 1. So let's see what that sounds like. All right, that's a simple beat.